Hello, everybody. My name is Gary, and I am a media consultant that aims to equip and empower small ministry media volunteers. And if you have a Yolobox and a camera and you want to get lower thirds on your screen like you see here, then stay tuned. All right, so let's start with what we needed to make this work. So first of all, you're going to need a Yolobox. I've got a Yolobox Pro, and I got it used. I think I got it on eBay, if I think about it. Yeah, eBay. So you can find one pretty decent price. They had a great deal going on. It might have been on Amazon. I can't remember, but it was a really good deal used. And then you want to have FreeShow, of course. And with FreeShow, you want to set up your settings to where you can connect your Yolobox to a computer. Okay, and what I did to connect mine to my computer is I just used the HDMI out from my laptop. I've got a MacBook Pro, and I put that into the output 1 or 2, I should say, output 2 on my Yolobox. I've got a camera, a GH5 connected to the Yolobox in input 1 via HDMI, and that's pretty much the connections to the Yolobox, along with I've got an output coming into my computer, but that's just an additional. So the reality of it is that's the plain thing that you would do from the Yolobox. Camera to input 1 is what I've got. You can put in any input, but I've got it camera to input 1, and you're sharing your screen to the Yolobox, and I'm sharing mine in input 2. All right. With input 2, though, this is where things get interesting. I went to my settings on my computer. All right. So I got my system settings, and what I did from there was I went to my Yolobox. It's connected here. Okay. And from this one, I actually went to wallpaper, and I set it up to where my wallpaper is not showing on all spaces. I set it to where it's off, and then I went to my Yolobox and I changed the color. So I made a custom color. The color pops up and it lets you pick a color, and I picked green this is my MacBook, so it lets me pick a certain color. And so that's a big deal because basically we're going to turn that extra monitor into a green screen. Kind of crazy, but it's really cool. All right. So the extra monitor for the Yolobox, the one that's got the HDMI connected into it, and input number 2 is going to become a green screen. Next thing we do is we come into FreeShow and we set it up to the outputs in your settings. And I've made an output for my live stream. I just call it stream. And I've got it set to use a certain style for scriptures, and it's called the stream scriptures. If you've not checked out the templates that I've made for like lower thirds, you can do that on my website, GarryBJr.com, and you can download those. But I've got it set up, and this is from that same aesthetic. It's just the lower thirds without the I don't know what it was, the actual lyrics or scriptures or anything like that. This is just a lower third title, right, with just a name. And so I've got that set up, and what that looks like for me on all of my scripture stuff, or on this whole input, is if I go to templates, pull this up, you'll be able to see different types of templates. So this is one for lyrics, one with lyrics in a blank logo, one with lyrics in my logo. And then scriptures, it looks almost the same, except it's got this little bar up under it as well. All right. And so let's say I had a scripture. I could select this and pick this particular scripture, and I've got an overlay on, so I need to turn that overlay off. And now you'll see the scripture showing up as well on the screen. But that's what you need. You need lower thirds, and you need to have the green screen, because in your output settings, you're going to go into your outputs, and for this particular output that you've got, I've only got the one open, and it's going into my Yolobox as the output. That's just the default. That's the one here. All right. And I've got the NDI on, and then I turned on transparent. That's key, because now what you can do is in your Yolobox, you can go to Chroma King and turn that on. And because everything behind on the screen is going to be green, because that's the backdrop to the actual wallpaper on that particular screen. Whenever you put up your scriptures in lower thirds, everything else is going to be see-through. All right. And so now let's look at what that means for the Yolobox. All right. So let's stop sharing here. And if I turn off the program, all right, and so in my Yolobox settings, I actually have a picture-in-picture setup. And so if I go to this and I hit edit, you'll see that I've got two screens selected. So let's just do a reselect of the screens here, okay? And so I'm going to select, let's do as my main image. It's not even showing me my my video camera, but really it's just my main image, I'm sorry, is my video camera, and then I made this screen be a picture-in-picture, but it's set to where it is full scale, right? So if I make it small, you can see here, but it's full scale, and I'm looking at it on my monitor there, to where it actually is like it's covering up the whole screen. And then before I turned on that, so I can hit done there, for HDMI 2, we can go here. Let's do the little icon there. You'll see that it is chroma keying on. So I've got key switching, so I can turn that off, and you'll see it's just a big green screen. That's my wallpaper behind it. So in order for me to get that picture-in-picture to be see-through, I had to set up input 2 and just turn on chroma keying and hit done. And now you see what you see here for that picture-in-picture version 2 or video 2. And that's how you can use Yolobox with FreeShow with a computer. Okay, so that's the third component of this. You got to have a computer, and then you got to be able to connect them with the HDMI cable of some sort to be on the input side. And the cool thing about Yolobox is you use it to live stream, right? So nobody sees the computer screen, nobody sees the Yolobox screen and all that stuff. All they'll see is this. Okay, so they'll just see the view of what you look like with your lower thirds, and the slides that you're showing can be scriptures, they can be text that you created, they can be anything that you want. And this is just a slideshow that I made from a week ago that I used for a meeting, and it can show up while you're doing your live stream, and you can literally just arrow to each verse. You can read it from your Yolobox. I've got mine on Zoom on the side here as well, so I can actually see it on Zoom and I can read it there big as day. But I also could make a second monitor that has the scriptures bigger on FreeShow as well. And so this is something that makes this process pretty interesting to start playing with, because now FreeShow is out of just the generic projector screens or monitors that you've got in your building. You can actually use it for in conjunction with other equipment. In this case, I'm using it with a Yolobox. You can probably work out something similar with an ATEM. I'm not that fond or familiar with how those work to do the chroma keying, but I know they can. I just don't know how to set it up to where you can make it bigger like you can on the Yolobox, because that's why I invested in a Yolobox. I've got an ATEM switcher, but the Yolobox was simpler to use, and it made more sense for what I do as an individual, as a small ministry leader, media ministry leader, and things like that. And so I enjoy using the Yolobox Pro for that reason, that it is simple and easy to use. It may not be as robust as people might think as an ATEM, but I believe it is, just because of the interface and the simplicity of it. And it just helps solve a problem for me. It's a great solution. It allows me to hook up my cameras and to go live from pretty much anywhere. You can't really do that with an ATEM, because a Yolobox has a 4G connected card in it that you can put in from your phone or just from your cell phone company, period. All right. And so let's recap. You got to have a Yolobox, a computer, and then you also need FreeShow. Okay. So those are the things that you're going to need in your FreeShow. Let me share my screen again. In FreeShow, you need to make sure you're using a lower thirds template. All right. And so for your lower thirds template, you can download one on my website or just make your own. It's completely up to you, but you can go into templates, pick any lower thirds template that you want, and it'll show up in that portion that you created in and design it. Then you want to go into the settings on your computer. All right, so let's come back here. Let's go to the settings on our computer, system settings, and then you want to go to wallpaper, and you want to select or uncheck show on all spaces. You want to select the input that you got, or the output, I should say, and you want to change it to be a custom color, and you want to make that color be green. This basically turns that whole output into a green screen. And so anything that shows up on top of the green screen will be seen, while using the Yolobox, you can key out all the green. All right. And so then on your Yolobox, you want to cut over to show the, let me stop sharing here. You want to cut over to your picture-in-picture view. So you want to set up a picture-in-picture, and the picture-in-picture is going to be a input of a camera as your primary, and then you want to have your picture-in-picture or your sub screen be the output coming from FreeShow that you set up with the lower thirds on it. It's going to look like it's green at first, okay? And then you would select that and make the scale be all the way up to 100. And you can do this in any order, but then you want to go into that screen that's got that FreeShow input and turn on Chroma King so that people can see just the output on the lower thirds, no green screen. I hit done there, and now those two layers are stacked on top of each other. Okay, so now your camera is showing, but then on top of your camera you had this big old green screen image that was a shared screen that FreeShow was sending a signal to. So you got that connected in, and it's actually reading what's not green. That's the simplest way to put it. So in your logo, if you got green in your logo, this will not work. If you got green where I've got the little orange box down there for the scripture reference, this will not work. So you want to be mindful, you want to be careful of that, because if you're not, you could run the risk of, well, you definitely will run the risk of this just not working. You're gonna have some blank spots and some gaps on your screen where those areas are. Now the other thing you could do, you can make everything green and just have words and lyrics over the top, and they be in black or white, and that's another way to do it, and have those over it, and it's just over the top and not in a lower thirds. But that's just a template that you would make in your setup for FreeShow. And so if you set it up that way, that's fine. I like to do mine as a lower third. I just like the look and the feel of it because it just feels more professional. So hopefully that helps for you to connect FreeShow with your Yolobox using your computer and setting it up properly so that you can use it to live stream, you can use it to record like I'm doing now, and control what shows up on your lower thirds pretty seamlessly, and connect it to all these scriptures and Bibles, and you can make your own slides and things like that. So you literally could put a whole slideshow over you and then have it come in and out with this lower thirds. You can just have your logo showing up, right? So you can do, I'm gonna clear all real quick, and let's do all that gone, and then I can just have my logo there. And this is on Yolobox. Now on Yolobox, you can actually put this in as an overlay by itself, so you don't necessarily have to use FreeShow for that, but I also have the flexibility to add other things with it. That's where it comes in handy, to where you can add additional scriptures and things like that along with it and keep your logo there. All right, so hopefully that helps you, and until next time, I'm Gary.